Much. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 25th. It is 5:54 p.m. This is the regular meeting of the Coppell City Council. I hereby call the meeting to order, and we will recess and go into executive session. Thank you very much. We are on a bit of a tight shift tonight, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We have recessed from executive session, and we're convening into work session. The time is 6:32. All right, first item up is a discussion on agenda item.
Yes.
The first item up is a discussion on agenda items. Is there any yes, Councilmember Clip, I'm sorry.
Second page on the memorandum on the Plantation Drive and Mossy Oaks work. I think the street is Bethel School Road rather than Bethel Road.
Collins.
You are correct. In the other memo, and we missed it in this one. Okay. So,
all right. Well, I didn't think I'd seen Plantation running into Bethel Road since I travel it quite frequently.
You are correct.
Which item number was that, Cliff?
You would ask me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 10B. No, not 10B. 10C.
Right.
Not.
We'll count on you to keep us straight when we get to that item.
Yeah, that's right, because, no, it's 10D. I'll get it right in a minute. It's then 10D, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yes, that's right.
Anybody else have anything?
CPA in me. Comes out every once in a while.
Councilmember Jan? John?
Sorry. What is, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. I noticed the item number C. Just want to make sure that it does say 96,007. Saw in the note referencing as 98,000. So just want to make sure we clarify that.
Well, mine says 96,000. Jessica, Ms. Carpenter?
I believe 96,000 is correct. The correct figure there.
96,768.
Yes.
So let me go ahead and go back, and I think I saw in the agreement, service agreement, 5.1 it does have 96,768, but the dollar figure, it says 98,769. If you look at 5.1,
Give me just 1 second.
Probably a typo.
The 96,768 is the correct number there.
Right.
so we do need to make that change because the number actually, that's what they look at as well.
Correct.
And then the second thing I had was 5.2. On the last part, it says any error, discrepancies, or invoicing of not work completed may result in delay in payment. I would like to add or change that to say that it may result in delay and reduction in payment for work not completed as well.
We pass that over to Mr. Hager.
Question.
So the question was the last statement where it says any errors, discrepancies, or the invoicing of work not completed may result in delay in payment. But I would like to change that to say where it may delay, but also may reduce, may be reduction in payment as well.
While Bob's taking a look at it, I just have a question for John. How are you suggesting that we would reduce the payment?
Well, if it's not completed.
Your language, I'm just trying to understand your language as it relates to the contract.
Yeah, it says that any errors or discrepancies or invoicing of work not completed, if it's not completed, it might be delayed, but I also want to make sure that we're not paying for something that's not completed, so there might be reduced as well.
I think that the custom would be to have them come out and correct the work and then pay them after they corrected the work.
Well, paying, that's what I'm saying. Paying is fine if they're done with it, but I'm just saying that if it's not completed, it may be delayed, but...
And it may reduce, because I'm not the cemetery guy, but I would rather that the cemetery be mowed and manicured correctly and then withhold the payment until the correction's done. So I don't know that we would need to change it in that regard.
Okay.
But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. And I got the note that's changed to 96. It's spelled out correctly, but the parentheses numbers don't match. Thank you.
Anything else?
On item number D, or letter D, just want to get a clarification that it says that they are actually on hourly basis. Is that correct? The service is hourly.
Yes, sir.
So, in theory, that it's possible that although it's no more than 88,465, it could be actually less. Correct. Based on the hour. Okay, just want to confirm.
Not
Thank
to
you.
exceed.
That's fine. All right. Let's move on. Item number B, Ms. Carpenter.
No, that's actually me.
Oh.
This is the update on mask mandate and social distancing requirements.
I was in consent agenda. Item B, mask mandate. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Land.
Timing is everything. So a couple of weeks ago, Tuesday night, we talked about removing the mask mandate. And at that time, I believe we were around 60% of the population Today, we're about 64, 65%. But more importantly, the governor issued Executive Order 36, I believe, in which he removed any ability to have the mandates. One of the things, though, we did not talk about was the social distancing issue. And we'll take council chambers. You've seen we've removed the signs. We've removed the tape, but we still have these up. And we have Ashley in the back, and we have the dais the way it's set up here. And so that's just an example of one of the questions that I have as far as what are the expectations for council as it relates to the social distancing. Additionally, so work sessions. We were just in executive session in the back room. We typically have had our work sessions in the back room as well. Mentioned the dais and the dividers and the seating. Another is just the continuation of Zoom meetings and citizens' comments. One of the things that was happening during COVID is that the council took a position where if somebody, like tonight, requested, didn't want to be here, didn't want to be on Zoom, but wanted to have their comments read, the council said, okay, we'll go ahead and read them for now. So at what point in time do we, if we do change that, again, that's kind of council. And then over at the core, I know that you go to the core in the mornings. One of the things is the workout spaces, right, are still based on social distancing. At the Arts Center, we can't sell all the seats because we're still going on social distancing, so we could go to 100% of that. So that just gives you some of the examples of how social distancing continues to impact not only our arrangements here, but other operations. And so learning my lesson last time, I wanted to bring it to council to allow the council to give us direction on how you'd like us to approach social distancing and what steps would you like us to take. So it's a discussion item with, at the end of that discussion, having some consensus on where you'd like us to go. That's it.
Is that all?
That is all.
All right. So let's break this down into little bits. Anybody let's talk a little bit about the social distancing first. Anybody have any strong opinions one way or the other? Mark?
Since we know that COVID is transmitted typically by aerosol dispersion, these are really ineffective. That was part of the reason I stayed away for so long until I got vaccinated. These are really for show, and we ought to get rid of them.
All right. So
We're all vaccinated, so there's not an issue.
Does anybody have an issue getting rid of the partitions here? Let's just take this one step at a time. Or anybody have anything to say about that besides Mark? So we're all good, okay? Good. So item number 1, all right? Yeah. What's that?
Mayor.
All right, and then seating up here. Getting rid of the partitions will allow us to sit a little bit closer together. Get Ashley back up where she's not across the room from us. Anybody have any issue with that one, or any comments? By the way, I think it is safe to say that we're all vaccinated and have been received and we're well into our month after that. Mark?
I just want to make sure that Ashley is comfortable with that.
Agreed.
I did ask Ashley that specifically, and she can speak for herself, but she told me she was perfectly fine and was, I believe you said, willing or looking forward to moving back or something like that.
Come on down.
Thank you. I'm happy to come back.
Not tonight, but okay.
Thank you.
So she was comfortable with that, Mark. Anybody? Brianna?
No, I actually had that's fine. I'm good with the partitions off, and I'm good with Ashley coming back if she's comfortable, and I'm happy with sitting closer to all of y'all. I actually had a quick question. So we're talking about getting kind of back to some normalcy of what we had before pre-COVID. I noticed like there's no more signs on these chairs. So have we decided to go ahead and just take those off?
I'm only smiling because someone helped do that 2 weeks ago.
that
will
was
go
for
unnamed.
swearing in because there was a lot of people, and I was trying to accommodate them so they could sit down. I knew you were
So
going to go there.
Since that
I
time, we
didn't
have
know
not
if that was
replaced them.
permanent, but like I looked out there, I guess y'all are comfortable being around each other, and so
Mike has learned not to intercede with council initiative, so I think that was where
okay.
that was coming from.
I probably
So,
opened a Pandora's box. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm looking down this way too much because that's where I used to sit, so we used to hear that. Anybody down here have a comment on Kevin?
I think as far as seating goes, I mean, the biggest packed house we had was the swearing-in ceremony. So I think that if people need to distance, they'll probably have the ability to do that themselves. So I think that we should let people decide how they want to do it and go from there.
Leave it to their discretion.
Yes, sir.
John, do you have? I'm sorry, I saw you reaching for your microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. As far as the list of items, removal with the governor mandate as well, so remove social distancing, I think that's really not a problem. We're already doing that. 2, transparent dividers, yes, being that it be gone. The conference room for the work session, having it out here, I think it does serve a little bit of purpose. No? Okay. I think it does serve a little bit of purpose with being able to see the people and also be, for them to hear directly as well. Our center opening, I'm again going back with the governor mandate, 100% occupancy, work out at the core as well, and the library facility. I'm all okay with that as well. But as far as the comments on phone and email, I still don't mind allowing that.
Let's take
one at a time?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
take one at a time.
I'll backtrack.
So Brianna?
Do you want to? Which one do you want to tackle?
Well, I was going to start it at the conference room.
Okay, in the back.
Yes.
Okay, that's where I was going to go. So thank you, Councilmember June. I respect your thoughts on it. I do agree that people can see us here. I honestly, from a work session standpoint, just because there's usually a lot of discussion and I don't know, there's just something about the intimacy of that conversation, us being around that table. I'd prefer us to be in the back for work session. And I think I would love to see, if people aren't comfortable sitting in the back, because it is somewhat of a tight space, that if we could somehow televise the work session out here, and then people can sit here if they want to, if they need more room. But I know that from a work session standpoint, I think it's just different from a regular session of having kind of the voting and the formality. I don't know. There usually is a lot more discussion, and I can tell you that I just haven't felt like our work sessions are as effective being out here. But I know we've had to do it for COVID reasons.
Mark?
As far as work sessions go, I'm okay with going in the back, but I really would like to keep on with the Zoom sessions so people can see what's going on, because there's a lot of times, because it's right about dinner time, so people can't always get here, but they want to hear the discussion. And that's one thing that I've been harping on, since I got on council, and we've always had it's been a difficult thing to make happen, but now that we have the technology, people can look at us when we're sitting at the table. They know who's talking. There was always that discussion that you didn't really necessarily know who's speaking and discussing a particular item. Viewing it on Zoom myself for all those months, it was fine. So I think we need to open that up so our citizens can always hear this discussion, because so many things are really decided back there. Because we talk through, and we all resolve items. We have questions that come up that may not necessarily come up in the presentation out here. So I think it's vital that we keep that open for our citizens.
Mark, do you have a preference on whether it's by Zoom or streaming video?
Well, I think part of the problem we always encounter was that the streaming video was supposedly a big task to overcome. And Zoom seemed pretty straightforward. There was just a fixed camera, and that was it. So if the end result is the same, that we can have our citizens see the work session, and it doesn't take a lot of major effort, Zoom's fine by me. I mean, I don't care.
I'm going to ask the city manager a question. Is there anything that would keep us from being able to continue doing that?
Continue in Zoom?
Yes.
In the back room? Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
John,
What about streaming? I mean, I know that was an issue, and we were looking at all new equipment.
The streaming's a little different technology. You know, we got into some of the cost and everything along those lines. I would tell you that Zoom, yes. Let us go back on the streaming as far as the work session is concerned. Clearly, we do streaming out here. But I can't give you a definitive answer because that was about a year ago or longer when we had that conversation, and I just don't recall.
And it was a big number that we were talking about.
It's
15,000, 20,000?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was, so if we can do it with the way we have it, I'm happy.
John?
Thank you. So I get what Councilmember Smith is saying. I don't miss it because I never had a work session in the back. But going back to what Mayor Pro Tem Hill said is, we want more people to see, and being out here is readily people, if they want to come, they could see comfortably and see what's going on. And even I think it might be probably easier for them to see if they were going to see it online via Zoom, if we're out here as well. So for that reason, I think it's a good idea for a change to be out here and let people see, better.
Yeah, I'd just as soon go to the back. I think I agree with Brianna. She's brilliant. So came up with that's right. It's more intimate. We can get things done. Consensus can be reached easier.
I'm not hearing a real strong direction one way or another. I've got a 2 for the conference room. Mark, where your conference room? And I've got Bijou. How do you stand on that?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm okay going back to the back room as long as we have Zoom or stream available for public to view what we are discussing.
I think that was what Mark was making very clear.
Yeah.
Kevin?
No, I would agree. I'd be completely comfortable going to the back, but I do agree that if we could use the streaming technology or Zoom, whatever, I think that would be great. I know there are some people that do have difficulty even getting out of their homes, not even just COVID related, that if we can make government more open and more available to them, I think that we should do that.
All right. I think I'm hearing a majority that will go back into the work session room. It will be available by Zoom and streaming if we can make that available. I said if. So, and Mike will look into that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. We're running out of time real quickly here. I'm going to group the Art Center core and library, social distancing. Where do we stand on that as a group? Anybody have opinions on that one? Cliff.
Yes, Mayor. I'm referring to the same folks that we talked about when we dropped the mask. Everyone has had plenty of time now to get vaccinated if they choose to get vaccinated. And so I think it's a done deal. And so let's go back. I mean, let's just go back to the normal because the individuals have made their choice or their decision, and so 100% at the Everplace.
Bijou?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I take an exception to the library because a lot of kids are still coming back to pick up books and sitting there and reading. They are not vaccinated like the adults are, so we may have to think about that and give some consideration for the kids.
Kevin?
At my facility, we have if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask. But since we work with a lot of children, we still have the kids wear their mask. And I think that if you've got kids that aren't able to be vaccinated, we still have the option for the kids to wear masks if they come in. So that's just something that is always still available to everyone. No one is saying that you can't wear a mask in anywhere. So I say we go ahead and just open everything up and just remind people that that masks maybe are appreciated. I've seen some of those signs, and we just have those up, and maybe continue if we have masks available for people if they want them or need them. But I say we go forward with that.
John?
Yes, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and echo what Councilmember Long and Councilmember Novus has said. There's options still, and it is time. I think that we can open 100%, and we're doing it with the government mandate as well, so I'm for that as well.
I've got a little anecdotal, I don't know whether it's humorous or curious, but the day after the city opened up the city facilities, I went into the Corps at my normal time with my mask on, expecting to find, the people that were working out to be health conscious wearing masks. There was not a single person in the entire facility wearing the mask, so I took mine off very quickly. So anyway,
I bet you did.
Anybody else? I'm hearing a very strong opinion on that one.
Okay.
So to relax okay. Last item that I have written down is the appearance of citizens during council meetings. We did change our rules to allow written comments to be presented as well as testimony or presentations by Zoom. And there is a question about whether we should continue that or alter our process. Kevin.
I strongly recommend we continue that. I think that is a very good thing for our city, our citizens. It, again, provides more avenues for people to connect with us. And I think that we should definitely keep that. I strongly support keeping that around.
Thank you. Brianna?
Yeah, I would agree with Kevin that having that option, I think we're in work session, right? Call him Kevin. For people to have options, we know that there are people who are taking precautions for whatever reasons, vaccinated, not vaccinated. That is not for us to judge or to ask or any of that. I just want people, if we're going to, providing Zoom as an option to watch meetings, I think having their comments read in is something that we should do, and it provides the opportunity for people to, again, contribute in some way, shape, or form, because they may not be able to actually get here for whatever reason and state their comments in person.
All right, thank you. Mark?
I'm going to have to go along with Kevin and Brianna. I mean, we want citizen participation in whatever form it comes.
All right, so I've got one question for the group. I'm hearing a fairly strong consensus there. On verbal comments, we limit the comments to 2 minutes. What do we do if we receive a dissertation in writing? Mark?
Read as much of it as we can in 2 minutes, and also put a reminder on the website that you should keep your comments, in a written format that can be read in less than 2 minutes.
I like that. Thank you. All right. Cliff?
Yeah, I think that's probably not a bad idea, and if we determine that it's long, then you can give them a choice. Do we want the first half read or the bottom half read? And usually it's the bottom half because that's where they sum it up. So that's more likely the better part to do. Yeah. So we'll just automatically do the last half.
All right. I think we got this one under control. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Item number C, discussion. Did we cover everything on B? All right. You're good.
Yeah, I think we
All right.
got clear direction.
All right. Ms. Carpenter, discussion regarding Grapevine Springs dredging and wall repair.
Good evening. I know we're short on time, so I'll move quickly. Thank you. I'm Jessica Carpenter, Director of Parks and Recreation. Also here with me this evening is Guy McLean, our Assistant Director of Park Operations, John Elias, our Park Projects Manager. We also have a couple of folks joining us from Dallas County this evening. In person with us, we have Mickey McGuire, District Director, and then I believe joining us virtually, we have Luis Tamayo, Director of Planning and Development. So I'd like to thank both of them for being here and for their partnership in navigating through this project. The City of Coppell and Dallas County have really worked together to create a really wonderful partnership to come up with a plan to restore this beautiful historical asset. So tonight I'm here to provide an overview of the proposed necessary repairs and improvements to Grapevine Springs Park. To begin, here's Grapevine Springs Park. Just to orient you, it's located directly south of West Bethel Road and nestled up against the Senior and Community Center as well as the Coppell Service Center. The park is located just directly to the east of those. I'd like to also go over some brief history of this park, and this park has quite a bit of it if you're not aware. In 1843, this park served as a campsite for Sam Houston while he was hoping to sign a peace treaty with the Native Americans. This park actually became a park and it's had its grand opening on June 15th, 1937. This park was originally built as a WPA project, and that is Works Progress Administration. So this was part of FDR's New Deal to bring the U.S. out of the Great Depression. So this WPA project utilized native stone to construct rock walls, canal, a dam, some fire pits, as well as some other amenities there. Ownership of this park turned over quite a few times before it ended up back under the purview of Dallas County. And in 1994, the City of Coppell and Dallas County entered into an open space and use agreement for a term not to exceed 99 years. So we're in about year 27 of that 99-year lease with Dallas County. So this image shows the original scope of the work to be done in Grapevine Springs Park. So back in 2015, the city contracted with Tignall Perkins to design and engineer dredging of the canal located in Grapevine Springs, as well as some repairs to the historic stone canal walls. The project scope requires, due to the historical nature, both a cultural resources survey and an antiquities permit, which we have both obtained. So just to kind of call out some areas on this image, I apologize for the folks who might be watching at home. You're not going to be able to see my pointer here. So this yellow portion here is actually the canal location that's set to be dredged. And then the hot pink areas located just on the sides of that are the actual identified locations for the repair to the stone walls. Before we could get started on that project, in 2016, this large diversion wall failed. And so the purpose of this wall was to deflect water from Grapevine Creek and pushes it actually down in the canal into Grapevine Springs Park. And so that water flow there is critical. It's going to keep the water moving, and it's going to prevent stagnation and water quality issues, which we're seeing today. So here you can see where this diversion wall, here's that failed portion due to some rising stormwater, pushed that over. And so without this wall, the water is now not diverting in this upper portion, and it's not making its way down into Grapevine Springs Park. And so here, just to orient you, this is Grapevine Creek right here. So in 2017, this project was put on hold to determine a course of action. Around the same time, staff began to communicate with Dallas County to work out a solution together. This ultimately resulted in a feasibility study, which looked at multiple means of repair to the diversion wall and multiple means of ways to get water back down into that canal. Overall, that study concluded that the diversion wall would just need to be fully replaced. So here's one more view, again, to orient you here. Down at the bottom of your image here is the senior center. We're actually, to the left is north, we're looking east. So here in the center of your image, this is the location of the canal to be dredged, and to the far right, this is the location of the diversion wall to be fully replaced. So just wanted to give a little bit of detail in terms of how we plan to access both of these areas, because it's a little bit of a challenging piece of the project. We'll actually access the park two different directions. In order to dredge the canal, we're going to come in from Park Street here. We're going to close off the very south end of Park Street. It will not affect Benson Lane, any access there. We're going to run a 6-foot hose down into the canal for that dredging. Oh, apologies there. This is a very sensitive clicker. So that pipe is going to run all the way down into the canal. And that dredging operation is expected to take about 3 or 4 weeks. So you might notice that we have some homeowners right here, especially off of Penfolds, that are very close to where this work is going to occur. Staff have personally reached out and made contact with these homeowners, and for the ones that we have heard back from, they're actually very excited and in support of this project. They see the value and the historical nature of this park and are excited to see it restored. So in terms of access to come up to the diversion wall here. Luckily, the Coppell Service Center just sits off here to the side. This is the back staging lot. We're going to be able to make access from the Service Center back lot and come right up that pathway there and be able to make those wall repairs. So very little impact to the surrounding areas there. The wall repair portion of this project is expected to take a little longer, about 4 months. So moving forward, just a few things. In terms of funding, Dallas County has agreed to fund 50% of the construction cost for this dredging and wall repair project. Total project costs have come in under budget. That's always good news. Separate construction documents for the wall repairs and the dredging operation have been prepared. And we were able to utilize an interlocal agreement with the city of Southlake for the dredging to obtain a quote for that. The dredging is a highly specialized service, and so per standard municipal procurement practices, we were able to piggyback on an existing ILA there. The repair of the historic walls and the diversion wall was put out for public bids on April 10th, and the bid opening was May 6th. Staff plans to bring the dredging quote and the wall repair bid back to council at the next meeting on June 8th for consideration of award. I'd like to give either Mr. Tamayo or Mr. McGuire any opportunity to say any few words if they would like, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Hello, good evening.
I'm sorry, I have to turn the microphone on. Thank you very much. Welcome,
Good evening,
welcome to us.
Mayor, Mays, council members. This is Luis Tamayo, and I am the new Director of Planning and Development for Dallas County. So as you just heard and are aware, City of Coppell maintains the historic Grapevine Springs Preserve for the county, I guess for the next 80 years. And besides the WPA improvements at the preserve, it's also the site where Sam Houston once camped while awaiting the culmination of peace treaty negotiations with local Native Americans. I'm a huge fan of the WPA and its works. This is a great asset. So the city hired a consultant who studied the park situation and proposed that the wall be repaired and the channel be dredged. And the county's Trail and Preserve Board reviewed the proposal and recommended that the county participate in this project by splitting the cost evenly with the city. Obviously, COVID-19, which dominated much of last year, caused some delays. Now that there is an approximate cost for the project, I'd like to reaffirm my commitment to bring this item to the Dallas County Court to consider reimbursement for the project as recommended by the County Trail and Open Space Preserve Board. So, thank you so much. This is a wonderful asset, and I hope to visit it again soon.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Any questions? Right. Well, this has been a long time coming, and we certainly look forward to seeing this get started. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, item number C is discussion regarding expiration of the temporary sign moratorium. Ms. Hurley.
Good evening, Mayor Council. I'm Mindy Hurley. I'm the Director of Community Development, and I'm here before you tonight to talk about our temporary signs. Due to COVID-19, several of our businesses were forced to either shut their doors or limit their service offerings, and as a result, many of the businesses suffered. So the city took many actions to try to help businesses with their recovery efforts, and one of those actions was to put a moratorium on the enforcement of temporary signs. You can see on the screen here some of the signs that have gone up since the moratorium relaxing our temporary sign ordinance was put into place. And again, council did take action at their May 12th meeting in order to pass this ordinance that did put a moratorium on enforcement. And here are a few other signs that are out today. I'm just showing you some of the signs that typically would not be allowed that are out today. The original ordinance, again, was passed on May 12th of 2020, and it was set to expire on December 31st of 2020. City Council took action at their meeting on December 8th to extend the ordinance, and that ordinance is now set to expire on June 30th of 2021. So, if City Council would like to extend the ordinance again, we would need to take action at your June 8th meeting before the expiration of the current moratorium. Now that businesses are allowed to be open at 100%, staff was seeking direction from council on whether you want to provide an additional extension or if we want to let the moratorium expire. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So the question before us is whether we want to see you back here on June 8th.
I think you'll see me on June 8th anyway, but it's on this item if you want to see me. So,
comments? Mark?
Yeah, we're still in a period of recovery. It's going to be a while, and I think we need to do everything we can for our local businesses, and I'd like to see this extended at least 6 months.
Thank you very much. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Was there any input as to the signs being excessive or people going too far, or had any complaints from the citizens?
We have not necessarily received complaints. We have received comments. And again, I believe there was a larger abundance of signs previously than what you see out there today. But we have had comments both in favor and just comments about that the sign, that there is potentially some visual clutter due to the signs today. So we've seen, again, not necessarily complaints, but just comments on both sides from businesses and residents.
And do you have some sort of feedback from the business owners as to what they're looking for?
I believe the businesses have definitely appreciated that we have had this in place. Due to the fact that several have stopped using them, I think that they're not necessarily as important to them anymore. I don't have direct feedback from every business on their feelings on this in particular, but I think the fact that we've seen a reduced number might mean that they're not as important as they once were, but we do still have some businesses that are clearly utilizing these temporary signs.
Thank you. And with that, I echo what Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Hill said, provide the businesses as much as we can, support them by allowing them to use it if they want to, and then if they don't want to use it, that's up to that's their choice as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bijou?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a follow-up question, Mindy. How many businesses took a permit from the city to have the temporary sign installed?
So that's part of what we did. We relaxed. They did not have to get a permit as long as they were an on-premise sign. If they were putting a sign on someone else's property, they had to come get a permit so that we knew we had approval from that property owner. Otherwise, if it was on theirs.
How many businesses took advantage of that?
Throughout the course of the last year, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm in favor of extending in at least 3 to 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cliff?
Councilmember John answered or asked the question that I was going to ask about what the feedback was. I have no, it's it's sort of a neutral thing to me because some extension through the summer or something like that would be appropriate, but we need to clean it up at some point.
Brianna?
Yeah, I'm in favor of helping our businesses in any way, shape, or form. The last extension was 6 months, right?
Correct.
Because we did December to June.
Correct.
And I think right now too that businesses are still trying to communicate to the community that they're open, that they are in business, and even trying to hire. So I'm in favor of extending. I think I would like to revisit this in 3 months rather than just extend it for 6 months. So I think that's where I'm at.
Kevin?
I'm in 100% agreement with Brianna on this about the 3 month. So I actually own commercial property on Denton Tap, and the thing that I've had problems with is like people I think are taking advantage of like the snipe signs, and they put their signs on my property without my permission. So I think that the longer that we have the signs open, which I am very much in support of our business community. I am a small business owner in this town, but there are other players that are taking advantage of some of that looseness with, I know we're always going to have people putting out snipe signs and stuff like that, but that's just a couple things that I have noticed. I would be very much in favor of revisiting this in 3 months instead of 6 months, just so where we could look and see how our business community is recovering. I'd also, if we could have, from your department, maybe try to collect some feedback. I'm sure we could get some feedback from the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sure there's some surveying that we could do to see if these temporary signs, if they're helping, if we're pretty neutral on it, maybe it would be time to move on. But I definitely think that we should try to gather some more data on that. Thank you.
All right. Brianna?
I think where I want to add to that too is I love as Kevin mentioned, just getting that feedback, working with the chamber and seeing how it's working. I want to respect also that there's comments about just from the pros and cons, right? And all the signs are very different that are out there and different sizes and different shapes. And so I think that's where people are maybe coming back with the clutter because nothing is consistent. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So what I'm hearing is, yes, we want to extend it a period of time. There was a question in my mind whether it was 3 months or 6 months. Anybody, is the 3 month period okay?
3 months is fine with me. I mean, and I think what Brianna said was to reconsider it after 3 months.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, Mindy?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Item number E. Kent, do you want to read this into the record?
Yes, sir. Be happy to. Work session item E, discussion regarding an interlocal master agreement with Dallas County for transportation improvements on roads inside Dallas County that are in the Dallas County Mobility Plan. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a discussion related to consent item 10E. And I'll jump right in. I wanted to recognize again Mickey McGuire, who's the District 2 District Director, who's here. We've worked with Mickey a lot on ideas and kicking ideas around. He's been great to work with. And before I get into this, the agenda item tonight is a resolution, but this is really about projects. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next slide, and you'll be happy to know I have one slide tonight. So I'm just going to work through these. These are all transportation projects. I know you guys hear it, and we hear it. What's the complaint? How do we improve traffic flow? How do we improve transportation? How do we improve mobility, access to businesses? How do workers get into areas where it's harder to get into if they don't own 2 cars or 3 cars? So some of these projects are designed or ideas to address some of those concerns. So a little background, in 2019, Dallas County announced that they were going to be issuing a new 5-year MCIP, Major Capital Improvement Program for Transportation Projects. The way it really works is it's more of a 10-year program. I'll get into that a little bit later. So they committed a $270 million commitment on their side, and then they asked for cities, local governments to submit projects. And similar to the Grapevine Springs project, they match on a reimbursement basis. So what we would have submitted, we submitted 4 projects. I'm going to run through those real quickly. Intersection Improvement Project. That probably sounds familiar because it's under construction. So we've designed it. We've awarded it. We've talked to the county, made sure they were okay with that, and they said, yeah, it's a reimbursement program anyway. So they have the plans. We've kept them up to speed as we've moved along through the project. We submitted a 50% share of the $3 million that we had. They awarded $490,000 or identified, approved $490,000 for that grant. The next project, so I won't cover that one anymore because I think everybody's familiar with that project. The next project is Autonomous Vehicle Circulator. So this is more that kind of maybe 5 to 10 year range project. And it's modeled after a demonstration project that was conducted down on campus at Texas A&M University. So they had an autonomous circulator. It's basically a identified route that just circulates around, and it has specific stops in mind. Now, in our case, in their test or their model, they had somebody on board. Okay, so the vehicle operated autonomously. But if the vehicle stopped, they had somebody that could take over and reset and keep the vehicle moving along. If something went wrong, they had somebody on board, an operator. In our case, what we would envision is that this autonomous circulator would move between the Silver Line station that's going to be built here in the next year or two and our commercial district, where we have now new hotels, new businesses, and the traditional businesses that have been down in the southwest part of Coppell that sometimes have a difficult time getting employees that they need to do the work. So this is that last mile of the trip for someone who maybe wants to use transit to get to their destination. So that's the idea behind this. We submitted a $300,000 request, and they approved that request. And I will say, this is not the master agreement is not the last approval. So the next step, as I'll mention, it would be project-specific agreements on each of these projects as we're ready to move forward with that funding partnership. The next project is Flashing Yellow Arrow. As you drive around Coppell, if you're in the left turn lane, and the phase comes up where you have a permissive left turn. So it used to be yield on green ball, right? It was a green ball, and we are converting to the current standards, which is a flashing yellow arrow, right? We still have a number of intersections around the city where we have not been able to implement flashing yellow arrow. This project was to accelerate that. It's a 50-50 partnership, and we would be able to finish the implementation. That is a safety improvement. It addresses a specific risk in certain type of signal timing. It's called a yellow trap. You can get people caught in the intersection and proceeding when they think they have the right of way, but they do not. So it's a perception, but it's called a yellow trap. The flashing yellow arrow solves that problem. So it's a safety project. The last one is vehicle to signal infrastructure. This is, and you may have heard me talk a little bit about this, this is that next step in kind of the autonomous driving or autonomous features in certain vehicles. In this case, our signal controllers have the capability to communicate with a vehicle that's properly equipped. To do that, we need radios in the cabinets, and we need a firmware update to our signal operating system. This project would do both at all of our signals within Coppell. So it would give us the 50% share, that partnership, to implement this kind of new technology, next phase in communication around all of our traffic signals. It would give us that capability. And that's $175,000. The flashing yellow arrow is an $88,000 commitment or approval from the county. So what would the process be? I know I went through those pretty quickly, but these are projects that we're planning in the next, either currently or the next 5 to 10 year time frame. Process-wise, the next step for us, so we have the master agreement on consent tonight. The next step was we would bring back for each individual project a funding agreement and a project-specific agreement. So that's where all the details around the project, all the detailed funding, the timing, who's going to do what, and we would be the lead on all of these projects, but we would partner with the county to the extent that they are interested in being participants. I know they're particularly excited about the vehicle to infrastructure project as well as the autonomous vehicle circulator. So we do have the master agreement on tonight for your approval. You would see agenda items in future meetings for the project-specific agreements and the funding agreements for those individual projects. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Kent. Any questions? Mark.
I did have a question about the autonomous vehicle circulator. Is that something that came out of the Smart City Board?
It did not come out of the Smart City Board. One of the steps we would definitely do is go have discussions with the Smart City Board for input on that project. Not asking for approval, but to get their input. We know there's a lot of smart people on the Smart Cities Board interested and done a lot of research into smart cities. This project certainly fits into the smart cities kind of bucket of projects. But no, this is really this is where transportation is headed. If you ask the folks that are in that industry, heavy trucks is probably going to be the first implementation of true autonomous vehicles, and vehicles like this would be the next. GM down in Arlington, they have an autonomous vehicle that they use for employees. We've got one up in Frisco as well. So this is we're trying to identify areas where that technology makes maybe most sense in Coppell, and this was an opportunity to try to get partnership through the county.
Yeah, it sounds like an excellent idea. I just would want to make sure that maybe they don't have a broader reaching concept that would be just more than the southern part of the city. Thanks.
Brianna?
So similar question. Well, I think that was kind of the question I was headed in, and similar comment. I'll just say, first of all, I appreciate the presentation, the information. I know that you're giving us a lot in a short period of time, but really appreciated you bringing this forward. I think it does fit overall into the smart city vision. And so, I think today I appreciate that we're just putting the master agreement in place that creates that foundation. But then on top of that, we can build the statement of works that come forward on the individual projects. And so if we can incorporate that conversation, like you said, with the Smart City Board, like you said, not necessarily for approval, but for guidance, for thoughts to think big picture of how all this fits in, because that's what I thought of when this presentation came forward. I thought of more of this, how it fits into the smart city. Always technologies and investment, it's going to have a big ticket item. It's always going to be a big ticket item. And it's going to have a price tag on it. But, if it's something that can move us forward into the 2040 and smart city plan, then I'm supportive of it. So thank you.
No, I appreciate all the comments about the Smart City Board. I know when we worked on the 2040 plan, this is exactly the kind of stuff that people were dreaming about, like, autonomous vehicles and things like that. I did have a specific question about, you said you needed the radios for the cabinets to do the signal, and the little thing is gone there, so I don't remember exactly what it was. Yes, the vehicle to signal infrastructure. From a very high-level perspective, what are some of do you know what type of things the vehicles will be able to do with that improvement at our intersections? Very high level, nothing detailed, please.
It's really, right now, it's a communication. It's hey, you're approaching the signal, this is the indication, so give them a heads up. I haven't experienced it in vehicle, but that's, I know some of the higher end Audis, it's basically like a head-up display. You're approaching a yellow, or it's green, but it's going yellow. So it's just better information for the driver.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Bijou?
Thank you, Mayor. I know we are short of time, so I'll make it comment quick. Thank you for the presentation. You threw a couple of numbers out, and is that Dallas County agreed to contribute to the project already?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing this coming forward, hopefully sooner rather than later. But thanks for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just about out of time. We do have one other agenda item on the work session. We're going to defer that till after the meeting. So we're going to stand in recess until 7:35, at which time we will reconvene into regular city council. Mr. Long?
Did you watch Bill on set?
No.
Okay. Did you find somebody to play?
I did.
Okay.
Me. Sorry for the delay. We've lost somebody. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. This is the Coppell City Council. We are reconvening into regular session at 7:37. Would you please rise and join me in our invocation? Let us pray. Heavenly Father, you are our Lord and Savior. Keep us safe. In these uncertain times, we look to you to keep us safe. We look to you to protect us from the wicked. You honor those who fear you. You honor those who keep a promise even when it hurts. You honor those who help the needy and do not expect anything in return. You honor those who do not take advantage of those that are less fortunate. Teach us to look to you for guidance and answers. Let us remember that every short-term decision has long-term effects, and that long-term change can only happen with collaboration. Give us the guidance and wisdom to make good decisions. And in your name, through the love of your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 6 on the agenda is a presentation from, well, Ms. Tien is going to help us out with this, and we've been looking forward to this.
I am. Thank you. Kim Tien, Assistant Director of Finance. This evening, we have guests from New Tech High School joining us to provide you with a presentation concerning a water sustainability project that they developed on behalf of the city. I would like to provide a brief background before turning the presentation over to our guests. So back in 2019, city staff that were involved with the Advanced Water Meter project began discussing how we could engage and educate our community concerning the customer portal, water conservation, and information about the water sewer system. So it was suggested that we contact New Tech to find out if they would like to partner with the city to explore an opportunity for learners of the New Tech High School to assist us with this endeavor. In January of 2020, Public Works did take around 56 students and faculty on a tour of the water sewer system. The group visited the water tower, a lift station, and the pump station. Public Works staff shared about certification requirements that they needed to have to meet qualifications for their job. They talked about various testing that they do throughout the month regarding water quality. And then throughout, they provided information on the cost of infrastructure, how much water the city uses annually, the cost of water, and then as well as the cost to treat the water when it's sent to Trinity River to be as wastewater. So after the tour, the students were going to create a project that addressed water sustainability. However, as we know, in March of 2020, COVID hit. And so the focus then required all of us to change our plans and adjust to virtual working and learning. The project was postponed. However, Mr. Porzio continued to engage city staff and incorporated this project into his current school year plan. And now I would like to introduce Mr. Porzio, and he will introduce the students that are responsible for the project that they're going to present to you this evening.
I'm Mr. Porzio. I teach AP Stats at New Tech High, an amazing place. And I would like to introduce two learners that we call our students learners that brought this project to life. The first is Malaika Yasir, and she is a senior going to UTD to study biochemistry, if I'm correct. And come on up. And then we've got Michaela Milligan, and she is a senior as well. She will be studying environmental science at UNT. And so I'll kind of let them share about the project. We had a lot of fun, and it was really fulfilling. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Porzio. Hello, my name is Malaika Yasser, and I am a senior at New Tech High at Coppell.
My name is Michaela Milligan. I'm also a senior at New Tech High Coppell.
And this is our city water project. Initially, we were given the idea to create a project that involved ensuring that citizens in Coppell were aware of their water usage through the portal, and our mission when considering the objectives was to make sure that we were still able to achieve sharing concepts to elementary students through what we were hoping to do, which was to ensure that they were understanding how much water they were using. When considering what to incorporate into our lesson plan, we wanted to ensure that there was excitement and involvement from our young citizens. We also wanted to ensure that there was competition, and with this competition, it would increase excitement. And lastly, we wanted to reach our main objective, which was to increase awareness about how much water was being used daily. This is an overview of what we were hoping to achieve through our lesson plan. And as our introduction, we wanted to use an introduction that increased engagement for learners and students, and we decided to do it through a story of a fish, which was made by AP Stats learners. This is an overview of the story of the fish, and
so with the story of the fish, it's basically a boy who wants to go get a pet fish, right? Every boy wants a pet fish. So we go and he gets a fish, and they're talking about where they find shelter, where they use water for. He uses it to shower, undo his laundry, and then they go and talk about where water comes from. So this is the important part. So we teach the kids what source water is, and then how it goes into water treatment. Then it's then distributed to all the homes in Coppell, all the businesses, all the buildings, and that's how the water comes to us. And then what happens to that water when you're done with it? It goes into the wastewater collection, and then it is sent to another wastewater treatment facility, and it's sent back into the source water to be treated again, to be drunk and used in the public.
When analyzing our water usage, we wanted to find a way that they could interpret mathematical representations such as bar graphs and pie charts, and we had an idea to get their data of April from their family's water usage through the portal, and we would be using this to apply it to bar graphs and pie charts.
So with the elements of this activity, we mostly talked about how you collected the dates and what water was used on those dates, and then we then applied it to a graph, and we showed them how to set that up. And then it was a competition, so basically students with the most water saved would then win the water bottle or a sticker.
These are some examples of graphical representations that we used and we were using to help them understand how they would be applied, and this truly gave a real-world scenario to them as young learners.
So the next activity would be a bingo activity, but we then decided to change it to a Kahoot because of the socially distanced processes in which we needed to stay socially distanced. We were on a Zoom call, so a bingo might be a lot to handle, whereas a Kahoot, it's really easy to set up, and the kids seem to enjoy that more. They really enjoyed that part of the presentation. So that was some of the stuff that we were going to use for the bingo activity, which we ended up not doing because it included cards, and that's not very socially distanced.
These are some examples of awards we were thinking of. We were thinking of using stickers as a generic award for everyone to have, and then water bottles provided from the city, which we did end up using for each student, and that was distributed at the end for any learner that participated in our lesson plans. And then again with the bingo, we didn't end up executing this, but that was still an idea.
So we then came to a conclusion. I asked some of the learners what they learned from the Kahoot. A lot of them had really fun facts that they were going to take home with them. And we also talked about how their awareness on water usage changed, and how if they were going to go home and ask their parents to set up the portal, things like that, they learned more about mathematical equations, which is also a plus. And they also won prizes.
Our end goals that we wanted to achieve were greater awareness, as previously mentioned, and we were able to achieve this as many learners were interested in awareness through our Kahoots, which demonstrated how much water we were using every day through whether it be 6 gallons per flush or other examples such. And limiting water usage as young citizens is super important because though they may not be making the hugest impact, they can share with their families, and then together we make a huge impact saving water as a city. And then portal engagement was also a big goal of ours, was to make sure that Coppell citizens were on the portal, and we were able to achieve this as many learners went home and then communicated this with their families. And then we also wanted successful engagement, which we did achieve especially through our Kahoot.
I do want to add, at the time that we did this presentation to the students, there was 115 more portal accounts added. And we talked to 200 students.
When reaching out to different elementary school teachers, we actually had a lot of interest in the lesson plan, and for us to teach it to them, we almost had all elementary school classes in Coppell, and the 5 classes that participated were from Town Center, Pinkerton, Austin, and Mockingbird, and as Michaela said, about 200 elementary students participated in this lesson.
So the final lesson plan was the intro story that I showed earlier, and then we did that Kahoot game. And then after we did the Kahoot, I asked them what they learned. And then the students, we worked on creating graphs with data from the schools. So we showed the April water usage of each school, and the students broke that down into graphs. These are some photos from the day. So you see we had 2 students at each Zoom call, and they were working on the Zooms. Not even in the classes, we were at New Tech doing these. There's some more photos. More photos. All right. So does anybody have any questions or anything?
So you two are both seniors, right?
Yes.
Well, just get ready for some really hard questions from up here, all right?
Okay.
Very nice job. We've been looking forward to this for, a year and a half now, and COVID really put a crimp in that. So thanks for coming forward. And I know your year right now is probably pretty busy, so thank you very much for giving us time. Council, any questions? Yes, Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know what your schedules are, but I want to invite you to my house so you could teach my daughter to take shorter shower and learn about water usage, because every time she comes out, she's like, did I take a long shower? I was like, bingo, So you're invited if you have the time. But thank you so much for doing the project. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brianna, or Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
I don't have any questions, so no hard questions from me. I just wanted to commend y'all for doing such a great job speaking your language, and the fact that we have been waiting for this for a long time. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the project and the experience. But I did want to say, y'all did a phenomenal job with just presenting and your slides, and it just, want to say great job and thank you, and good luck with your future endeavors as you start your next chapter in your life.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to echo the same sentiment expressed here. Thank you for your presentation. We enjoyed it. Teaching the kids about saving water, important. Engaging with the portal, that's important. And inspiring students about math, that's also important. Thank you. I just have one quick question. I know you did the presentation to 4 elementary schools. Is anyone else is going to do these type of to other schools in future, or are you going to give it to anyone else, this project?
Yes, we wish to continue it.
And then another conflict that we had when scheduling with the elementary schools was that they had a lot of STAR testing the week that we were offering, and then we extended it the next week and they were also testing. And with the end of the year, there were many conflicts. And so if we were to do it again next year, if the other stats class were to take this on, I think we would have many more classes partaking.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Nevels.
Thank you, Mayor. Was this your capstone project?
This is not.
So this is an addition to your capstone that you do?
Yes.
Wow, that is very commendable to you guys. You are taking on double work. I think that's amazing. I also want to point out that I'm probably the only one up here that knows what a Kahoot is. So thank you guys for doing that. They know what bingo is, but I got you on the Kahoot. All right. So I just want to say amazing job. And the fact that you guys did this in addition to your New Tech capstone, that's amazingly impressive. So well done, ladies. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight. We really were looking forward to this, and thanks for all your work and for promoting water conservation and, just exposing the elementary kids to what's possible. So you probably opened a bunch of their eyes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7 is a proclamation, and Ashley, if you would read this into the record while I am moving downstairs.
Item number 7, consider approval of a proclamation designating the month of May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Thank you very much. I would invite members of the Asian Pacific American Heritage Group to come down. Mr. Yu, I think specifically. It's good seeing you again. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. So, Council, for your consideration. Whereas across the nation, Asian American and Pacific Heritage Month is an opportunity to recognize the diverse culture, history, and contributions of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders for their tremendous accomplishments and influences in the community. And whereas throughout the history of our nation, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have helped shape America's character as a vital, vibrant, and dynamic people. And whereas the national character of the United States has been strengthened and enhanced by citizens who maintain and honor cultural values and customs brought from other lands, and whereas over 10 million Asian and Pacific Islanders from over 25 different ethnic groups that encompass diverse backgrounds, histories, languages, and cultures now call the United States their home, these Asian Pacific Americans attempt to give expressions to cultural, linguistic, and ethnic diversity while recognizing common experiences in American history. And whereas to honor the accomplishments and contributions of Asian Pacific Americans to our nation, in 1992, Congress approved Public Law 102-450, designating Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And whereas the city of Coppell is honored by that many Asian Pacific Americans have chosen Coppell as their home or place of business, and welcomes the diversity that their choice provides for all sectors of our residential and business community. Whereas Coppell now consists of 24.8% Asian residents, some of whom have lived in Coppell for an extended period of time, and some of whom are new immigrants and refugees. They contribute their talents, skills, and vitalities to the socioeconomic growth and cultural prosperity of our region, as whereas the city of Coppell has a deep commitment to promote racial equity, inclusion, and diversity in all aspects of our city government. Now, therefore, I, Wes Mays, Mayor of the City of Coppell, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Asian Pacific Heritage Month, and in witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of Coppell to be affixed this 25th day of May, 2021. Council, do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion approving item number 7, the proclamation designating the month of May as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Thank you. Second. Councilmember Long, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Long, Kenosa Smith, Nevels, Junn, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Yu, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And in addition, I have a personal letter for you from me on behalf of the city, thanking you for your efforts as president of the Korean Dallas Society. And I really appreciate the work that you've done for us. Did you have anything you would like to say?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ashley, number 8.
Item number 8, consider approval of a proclamation naming the month of May as South Asian American Heritage Month and authorizing the mayor to sign.
All right, I'd like to invite members to come on forward. Just stand in front of the... We're pretty casual. Council, for your consideration. Whereas on May 5th, 1838 is the earliest recorded arrival of immigrants from South Asia, and whereas South Asian Heritage Month is a time to honor the rich cultural heritage and accomplishments of people of South Asian heritage and pay tribute to them and the organizations that contribute to the social, cultural, economic, and political life of our community. And whereas South Asian Heritage Month provides us with an opportunity to learn about the immigrants of South Asians' experiences and the vital role that they have played throughout our history. And whereas the national character of the United States has been strengthened and enhanced by citizens who maintain and honor cultural values and customs brought from other lands, Americans of South Asian ancestry have long been part of that tradition by enriching the fabric of our society with the entrepreneurship, excellence in education, and dedication to community services. And now, therefore, I, Wes Mays, Mayor of the City of Coppell, do hereby the month of May declare South Asian American Heritage Month and proclaim that the City of Coppell supports the mission of the Telangana People's Association of Dallas to serve the Indian American community in the DFW Metroplex in the area of community and cultural services like blood drives, food drives, community outdoor festivals, and an indoor festival called Bethkama Dasari. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of Coppell to be affixed this 25th day of May, 2021. Council, do I have a motion? Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the agenda item number 8, consider the approval of the proclamation designating the month of May as a South Asian American Heritage Month and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember June, all in favor?
Long, Hinojosa, Smith, Neville's, John, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed. The motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much and appreciate your participation. And here's the proclamation. And thank you for attending tonight.
Thank you very much. May I would like to have a picture with you?
Sure.
Would you like to come in?
Oh, I don't. Thank you very much.
Mayor.
Okay.
If you want to come this way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you have? Would you?
Yes. This is a great honor for our organization, Telangana People Association of Dallas. We have been in Dallas metro area for about 8 years. And the signature event that we conduct at Allen Event Center annually, we get 12,000 people for that event, a 12-hour event. And many of us live here in Coppell for the last 20 years. It's a great honor for us to be here and get the proclamation from the hands of the mayor. Thank you very much. And thanks to Biju Thomas and Biju Matthew. He has been very instrumental with our Indian community in the council. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to Biju Matthew to.
While they're doing that, I just graduated on Saturday from Allies in the Community. And it was a very, very good program. And for any of you that haven't been through the program, I'd strongly recommend it. It was a wonderful experience.
Mayor, before you actually go, oh, no,
Councilmember June.
Thank you, Mayor. We actually have additional group here that are here for the Asian Heritage, Pacific American Heritage Month. So I would like to go ahead and invite the Chinese group as well as the Vietnamese group up there as well. And if you don't mind, we could just go ahead and do that one more time and take a picture as well.
I need the green paper. Thank you. That.
Have the next generation as well.
Hi, how are you?
Mr. Wynn. Mr. Wynn.
Okay.
Hey, hold it. So we're supposed to have one for them too.
Nobody's taking pictures for
I don't know if you realize these are my neighbors.
Oh, yeah. There's also...
Hope I did this right. 1, 2, 3. One more, just in case. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. I'm not a professional here. My son is, though. Three. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, item number 9 are citizens' appearances. Persons wishing to speak on any matter other than an agenda item scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda must sign a register and list their residence address as provided by the city secretary on a table outside the council chambers. And such persons may be heard at the citizens' appearance portion of the meeting. Each speaker must state his or her name and address of residence. Presentations by individuals during the citizens' appearance shall be limited to 2 minutes. Except with the approval of a majority of the council members present, there shall be a cumulative limit of 20 minutes allotted of any regular or special city council meeting. Those persons who signed up to speak at the citizens' appearance shall be called upon in the order that they have signed the provided register. No personal attacks by any speaker shall be made against any member of the council, mayor, individual, group, or corporation. We have one person that has sent in comments to be read into the record, and we also have a person physically present. So I'd like to ask Mr. Barry Raven to come forward, please. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Barry Raven, 201 Turnberry Lane, Coppell, Texas. May I ask for 2 additional minutes? I don't know if I'll need it, but I'm from Texas. I talk slow. Thank you very much. I'm here to talk about the core hours. I live in Coppell. I work in Coppell. My daughter goes to a school here, and I love Coppell. I work out at the core. I've been working there for approximately 6 years. I came over from Texas Family Fitness mainly because they have a basketball court at the core. Texas Family Fitness closes at 10 o'clock. There's another gym over here, LA Fitness. It closes at 10 o'clock. I've worked out at gyms for 40 years, and every single gym that I've worked out at closes at 10 o'clock. I don't even know of a gym that closes before 10 o'clock. as far as commercial gyms. The reason why that I was told that they were cutting the hours, and I'm not sure about Sunday, I know that they're not open on Sunday right now, but was that there would be a cost savings in labor of roughly $44,000. One thing I think that was left out on that is that the core not only is probably the most used facility for Coppell residents, it also generates revenue. So what I did is I took some numbers that I was given, that there are 853 people that have checked in the month of July of 2019. So I divided that by 20, and that comes up to about 44 people a day. Now, those aren't going to be the same 44 people, because all those 44 people aren't going to check in every single day. Some people may only work out once a week. Some may only work out every other week. Some people work out twice a week. So I multiplied that by 3, so roughly 129 people. And if you multiply that by the revenue generated, an approximate revenue of $250 a year, that comes up to over $30,000. So if you subtract 44,000 and 32, really roughly 12,000. Now, I'm not saying that people would cancel a membership because the gym isn't open from 8 to 10, but I don't think you can also make the assumption that they won't. There's also people that we don't even know about that may consider getting a membership at the core and would not sign up because of that very fact, so that's also revenue generation loss. In addition, I did a little bit of research on some local recreation centers around Coppell in other cities. Flower Mound Community Activity Center closed at 10 p.m. Thrive Community Center in Louisville closes at 10 p.m. Rosemead Recreation Center, 10 p.m. Farmers Branch Community Recreation Center, 9 p.m. The Rec Center of Grapevine closes at 10 p.m. The Georgia Farrell Recreation Center in Irving also closes at 10 p.m. One other consideration is the basketball court is used for more than just basketball. There's other activities: pickle, basketball, volleyball, and badminton. It would be very difficult to fit all of that in before 8 o'clock. Also to consider, once all of this COVID is over and people are actually going to work, there's going to be people getting home late from work. They got to eat dinner. Maybe they want to relax. They may not get to the gym until 8 o'clock. So I think that based on the fact that a lot of people use it, and I don't think it's too much of a cost, I would hope that you would consider going back to the hours of the core before COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one other set of written comments that were sent in. Ashley, can you read those into the record, please?
Yes, sir. These comments were sent by Mr. Amit Daria. Point 1 is I would like to request that votes by council members on major resolutions be tabulated and posted on the city's website on an ongoing basis. And then point 2 is I read today that the mayor of Dallas will be investigated for endorsing the Southlake candidate. Before our election, I had requested Gary to request all sitting council members at the time of the election or during the election not to endorse any candidate in public. Mayor Hunt and Gary endorsed candidates, publicly making each race biased. I would like to see if the council can look into this issue and pass a resolution against such practice. I would like this to be read as well. That's it.
Thank you very much.
And then Mayor Mace, I do have a gentleman next to me that would like to speak during citizens' appearance as well. He did not sign up on the sign-up sheet.
Is it one of the public hearings or now?
No.
No. Oh, come on down. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Richard G. My address is 129 Nash Drive. We live in the cul-de-sac at the end on the right. We have been residents, my family, since 1988, members of First United Methodist Church. And I own and operate a civil engineering firm located in Dallas. And through the years, we have done work with the city of Coppell, for the city of Coppell. Projects right after I started my engineering firm, we did the construction materials testing for the new library way back when, and continued on doing a good job through the years. We've done work on Freeport Parkway, sections of that, just a lot of projects, and I want to thank the city for that. And I feel like that as past president of the American Society of Civil Engineers, I have represented the city of Coppell well, and y'all have played a big part in our family, and I appreciate living here. Thank you.
Mr. G., thank you very much for your comments. Is there anybody else that has a desire to speak? All right, moving on. Number 10 is consent agenda items. These items are normally routine in nature that have been previously considered by other council action. They will be scrolling through the screen as you see. We did have an item on item C. The amount was to be corrected and has been corrected to $96,768. Were there any items that council would like to pull from consent? All right, I will accept a motion. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda items 10A, B, C, D, and E.
Second by Councilmember Hinojosa Smith. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Nevels, Jen, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item number 11 is a public hearing. I open the public hearing, and Ms. Hurley will present item to us.
Do you want me to read the caption in? Item 11 is a public hearing. Consider approval of an ordinance designating 1-800-CONTACTS reinvestment zone number 112 pursuant to section 312.201 of the Property Redevelopment and Tax Abatement Act and authorizing the mayor to sign. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Again, my name is Mindy Hurley. I'm the Director of Community Development, and I actually have the rest of your items on the agenda, I believe, tonight, so bear with me. 1-800-CONTACTS is interested in leasing space in Coppell. They are interested in 180 North Freeport Parkway, and they have requested a tax abatement agreement. And you can see 180 North Freeport Parkway on the screen, denoted by the green star. So before I begin or give you a few details about the company, I did want to talk you through kind of the tax abatement process just as an understanding of what we're doing tonight. Basically, Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code does require that a reinvestment zone is created for every tax abatement agreement that is considered in a jurisdiction. To create a reinvestment zone, you must hold a public hearing and pass an ordinance that describes the legal boundaries of the zone. With this agenda item, we're fulfilling both of those items tonight. A reinvestment zone's boundary is on paper only. There's no physical change to the property due to a reinvestment zone and no physical impact on the surrounding property owners. Passing this item and creating a reinvestment zone does not guarantee that any incentives are passed. Those will come back to you for consideration. And so tonight, we're only discussing the reinvestment zone and ordinance. We will be bringing the tax abatement agreement forward at a later date. So a little bit about the company. 1-800-CONTACTS is a contact lens retailer. They're headquartered in Draper, Utah. They were founded in 1995, and they are looking for a site for a third fulfillment center, and they need that third fulfillment center due to their growth and to meet shipping demands. So once again, they're looking at 180 North Freeport Parkway in Coppell. If you all approve this item tonight, this ordinance, it will create reinvestment zone number 112. The public hearing notice was published in the Rambler on May 15th, 2021. And like I said, the tax abatement agreement will be brought back to you all at a later date. And since it is still a pending contract, we will not be going into any of the details about the tax abatement agreement tonight. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have the applicant here today?
They are not here today, unfortunately.
All right. Counsel? All right.
We aren't considering these all together, are we?
Just 11 at this point.
Okay. I'd like to make them.
Councilmember, hang just a moment. I'm sorry, I thought I heard something down the side. Ashley, do we have any speakers that have asked to speak today?
No, sir.
All right. Councilmember Hill. Sorry.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and approve item number 11.
Thank you. Second by Councilmember
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Neville's, Jen, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Ms. Hurley, on and upward. Item number 12. This
Okay.
is a public hearing, and I open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Public hearing, consider approval of an ordinance designating Printful, Inc., reinvestment zone number 113 pursuant to section 312.201 of the Property Redevelopment and Tax Abatement Act and authorizing the mayor to sign. So similar to our last item, we are just creating a reinvestment zone by ordinance tonight. But to start, Printful Inc. is interested in leasing space at 217 Wrangler Drive. Once again, it's denoted on the screen with the green star, and they have requested a tax abatement agreement. So similar to what I talked about last time, we must hold a public hearing to create an ordinance and pass an ordinance to create the reinvestment zone boundaries. And once again, we'll be bringing forward the contract, the tax abatement agreement at a later meeting for approval. So I won't talk about details of that, but I'll tell you a little bit about Printful. They are an on-demand printing company. They were started in North Carolina in 2013. Essentially, they help businesses to print their custom products under their own brand. And they are looking for a space for office, production, and warehouse, and 217 Wrangler Drive is the space in Coppell that they're looking at. If approved, this ordinance will create reinvestment zone number 113. The public hearing was also published in the Rambler on May 15th, 2021, and then once again, we'll bring back the tax abatement agreement at a later date. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is the applicant here?
They are not here either.
All right. Do we have any citizens that have signed up to speak?
No, sir.
All right. Council, do you have any questions? Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
I don't have any questions, but for those who are viewing, so the public that are viewing, I think I just want to comment on the fact that these are items that have come up before in our work session and were discussed, and we asked a lot of questions. And so while it may seem like it's a quick presentation and then approval and we vote, please know that there was discussion prior to at a in work session and then has now come up for an actual agenda item. So just wanted to kind of put that out there for the viewing public. And I guess with that, unless there's any other comments, I will. Are there any other comments, questions?
Councilmember Jun.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, this was or is an empty building, correct?
Today it is an empty building, yes, sir.
And how long has that been?
I don't know the exact date of how long Wrangler has been vacant. Over a year, but I don't know beyond that.
Okay, and we've been trying to fill that space for
Yes,
a long
sir.
time. Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to close the public hearing and approve item 12.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Long. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Neville's, Jen, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Items number 13 and 14 are going to be enacted together, so Ms. Hurley, if you would, please.
Absolutely, thank you. The last two items are in reference to Natera International Corporation and SFPLP Holdings Management LLC. You can see on the screen the building with the red star is the existing facility that houses Natera and BMSC Corporation. BMSC stands for Beauty Manufacturing Solutions Corporation. And again, that address is 1250. They are looking at building a second facility, and you can see the land marked with a green star. Just so you know why SFPLP is included in this, SFPLP Holdings Management LLC is the legal entity that owns the real property for the building. So a little background on Natera and BMSC. They both manufacture beauty care, personal care, and baby care products for leading brands across the United States. We'll see some of Baby Magic. That's one of their big brands that you've heard of. The company was started in 1922. In 2013, they decided to move their corporate headquarters, research and design center, production facility, and warehouse to Coppell, to the 1250 Freeport address. The company did plan to build a second facility in 2017. And at that time, City Council did pass an incentive package that approved a 10-year, 80% tax abatement for both the real and business personal property. And for various reasons, the company did not move forward with building that second building in 2017. But now they are ready to construct their second facility, and they've asked for their existing incentive package. So, just as a background, all tax abatement agreements have specified dates for commencement of construction and completion of construction included in the terms of the agreement. Those dates have passed from the original agreement, so in order for us to amend this agreement, in order for us to change those dates, we must amend this agreement. So that's what's before you tonight. The original agreement's dates for incentive would have been from 2019 to 2028. Now this amendment has been changed where the first year of abatement will now be the January following the issuance of certificate of occupancy, but it will still expire in the 2028 tax year. The agreement remains an annual abatement of 80% for both the real and personal property. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And the applicant is in the audience. So you've asked on the last one. I have one tonight. So Peter Song is in the background. He's in the back of the room and is here tonight.
Council, do you have any questions? Councilmember John.
Just for clarification, we are actually honoring that abatement, except the years that they have not developed is actually foregone. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Matthew.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Those who are watching online, I just wanted to echo what Councilmember Hinojosa Smith said. We discussed this in detail in the back room, and this is a tax abatement to attract and retain business in Coppell. So that will generate jobs for Coppell residents as well as more business for our gas stations, restaurants, and other convenience stores, and so on and so forth. That's why we are approving this tax abatement. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I will go.
Any other? Yes, sir.
I move to approve the agenda item number 13 and 14.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Councilmember Neville's. All in favor?
Long, Hinojosa Smith, Neville's, Jen, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, thank you very much. Now you don't have to listen to me anymore tonight.
All right, item number 15 is the city manager report. I was going to finish our items out until we got down to the end.
Just as an FYI, as listening to this, I'm going to put a smile on your faces. Can we call the room in the conference room? Because every time we call it the back room, it just sounds kind of funny that things are going on in the back room around here. So, Anyway, all right, let's just put a smile on your face. Allies, the third cohort did graduate this past Saturday. 35 members were part of the program. It was a great afternoon, and a lot of good stories, a lot of good quotes. It's just one of the things that was amazing to me is that was the first time that group had met in person. So if you think about the purpose of Allies and bringing people together and building relationships, for that group to make it the whole year through Zoom, they did have some meals together, and we heard some stories about some freezing cold outdoor activities. But anyway, so that happened this past Saturday. The traffic switch has happened over at Airline. It's still westbound, and the sewer work should be coming soon. Plantation pre-construction meeting is in a few weeks, and following that pre-construction meeting, the neighborhood meetings will follow. Cambria, the sewer work will start within the next few weeks. All this is contingent on the rain. And we were talking about it today. For the last 3 weeks, it just seems like we've just had this constant rain happening. And we provided you some information today. You know, our medians and our parks and a lot of our green spaces are kind of getting, they need haircuts. But with the rain that we've been having, it's been really coming in. I know folks who have gardens are really loving the rain because it's done so well. But it's not really easy on the equipment to go out and rut up our fields and rut up the medians and those types of things. So I would just ask that you be patient with us as we try to get back on schedule for our mowing, because I know it is. I wish my hair could get that long, but it's getting a little long out there in terms of the green space. So, Mayor, that concludes my comments. Oh, wait, one more. Encore tree trimming. Because of the rain and everything along Sandy Lake Road, they've delayed it till this June. So you'll start seeing Encore back out there.
Thank you very much. Item number 16 is mayor and council reports. Are there any reports from council members? Councilmember John. I'm sorry? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to mention about the event that was held last Saturday, May 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Coppell Art Center, where Councilmember Long and Councilmember Bijou Matthew and you, Mayor, also joined us there. And that was actually for the Korean Society of Dallas presenting 6 $1,000 scholarships to the children of Coppell police and firefighters. And it was a small way of thanking them for all the things they do every single day out there, you know, risking their lives and also protecting our freedom and safety. And just want to report that it was a great event that's been presented to the community, not only with the scholarship, but also with the Korean cultural performances. So, and that was actually served well, and we look forward to maybe having more in the future as well.
Thank you very much. It was a very nice event, well attended. All right. From the city report, early voting in the runoff election for City Council Place 3 is going on until June 1st. There will be no voting on Memorial Day, May 31st, and Election Day is June 5th, with polls open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on June 5th. For other dates, check the website because the times that the polls are open vary. That can be found at coppelltx.gov/election. The drive-in movie series is back at the Coppell Arts Center on May 29th at 8:30 p.m. The movie is Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella. That will be on Saturday, June 5th. The movie is Madagascar. Tickets to the drive-in are sold per vehicle for $15. The parking lot opens at 8 p.m. for both evenings, and spots are first come, first served. Movies start at 8:30 p.m. Concessions will be available for purchase, and for more information, visit the www.coppellartcenter.org. The City of Coppell administrative offices will be closed on Monday, May 31st in observance of Memorial Day. As already mentioned, polls will be closed that day as well. Additionally, the Cosby Library and Community Commons, the Senior Community Center at Grapevine Springs, the Biodiversity Education Center, and Coppell Animal Services and the Coppell Art Center will also be closed on Memorial Day, the 31st. The core will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., with the outdoor pool open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Wagon Wheel Tennis Center will be open from 9 to 3. trash and recycling services will run as regularly scheduled. All city offices will reopen on Tuesday, June 1st. On Saturday, June 6th at 7:30 p.m., Theater 3's touring production of Meredith Wilson's The Music Man is coming to Coppell. The Music Man follows a fast-talking traveling salesman, Harold Hill, as he cons the people of River City, Iowa, into buying instruments and uniforms for a boys' band that he vows to organize. Touring through 3 outdoor DFW venues, this 10-person boutique presentation of the 6-time Tony Award-winning musical comedy is unlike any that has ever been done before. A slice of this classic Americana with a twist. Tickets are $75 for a 2-person socially distant square. I guess we'll have to revisit that since that will be no longer. All tickets are sold through Theater 3's box office. Visit the www.musicmandfw.com for more information and to buy tickets. Item number 17 is public service announcements concerning items of community interest, which involves no council action or deliberation. Do we have any PSAs? All right. Item number 18, there was no action from the executive.
We have 17.
Number 17 was the public service announcement.
No, it's the reports from the council.
Council reports.
I'm sorry, my agenda is off. This is different. Yes, item number 17. Council reports concerning items of community involvement with no action or deliberation. Item number A, the report on the Woven Health Clinic. Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Mays. In March, the clinic reopened for on-site patient visits. Prior to that, the clinic saw patients via telemedicine visits. They administered curbside COVID test, and they're excited to say that they have had no positive COVID tests since February, which is fantastic. They will continue to offer the telemed visits as appropriate. In April, they held 2 COVID vaccination clinics for patients. They recently received recertification as a National Committee for Quality Assurance Patient-Centered Medical Home, and less than 7% of physicians and clinics in Texas achieve this certification, and this is really a strong indicator of quality and comprehensive care. Last but not least, Woven is excited to announce the opening of a second healthcare clinic in North Carrollton on June 1st. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Item B is a report on MetroCrest services. Councilmember Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. MetroCrest Service is a charitable organization helping Coppell residents. I just want to give a few stats for the residents who are watching online. 930 Coppell residents served in 2020, a 46% increase over pre-pandemic levels. There are 4 points that I want to bring into your attention. Number 1 is CARES funds still being utilized to assist Coppell residents. Number 2, the tenant and landlord federal program has begun to reduce the strain on MetroCrest services as landlords look into the federal government to assist their residents. Number 3, the MetroCrest has continued to add staff to handle the volume, which will overall is a 5 to 7 times normal levels. And number 4 is the MetroCrest has now raised 34% of the funds needed to build a new facility at Josie Lane and Beltline. They are seeking donations from Coppell residents as well as the people that we are around in these 4 towns that they are serving. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now on to number 18, item number 18, which is a public service announcements concerning items of community interest with no council action or deliberation. Do we have any public service announcements? Seeing none. Moving on to item number 19, there was no action no necessary action from executive session. We will recess from regular meeting and move into our last item of work session, and the time is 8:38 p.m. We have remaining item number 3F on work session, which is a discussion of the city Coppell facilities operating hours and Coppell 2021 amended budget. So Member Matthew, turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, for this opportunity to speak to on this issue. I have few residents approached me in discussion about closing the core between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. You already heard one person speaking today at the public session. So the concern is many other facilities in and around Coppell are closing at 10 o'clock. There were a few people requested analysis from the staff, city staff, how much money the city will be saving in annual base. The analysis was done by the city staff. It's about $44,000 a year if they close between 8 and 10. So they were asking what are the things we can do to remain open between 8 and 10. So that's one topic that I want to ask the city manager to discuss into more details. In addition to that, one other things that we have, we all received in the tidbits that I'm sure some of you have reviewed it. It's about the expenses that we are incurring at the Art Center. So far, the revenue we collected since the Art Center opened from April 21st is 2021 is $25,000. The expenses we incurred during that time is $1.03 million. And the amended budget for FY21 is we may be losing up to $3 million in Art Center expenses. So the people were questioning me, at least, hey, we are trying to save $43,000 annually by closing core between 8 hours and 8 to 10. They are paying annual fees to get into the core for workout when the city is losing close to $3 million annually, or maybe projected to lose in the Art Center. That doesn't add up for them. So I would ask the city manager to explain to the residents how we come to that decision.
Sure. I'll go back to July 10th of 2020. When we went through the budget process, we actually provided the council a pretty extensive list of all the items that were going to be reduced or eliminated as a result of the potential of not only Rule 334. At the time, we did not know that the discussion of going to straight destination was happening. So we had to identify, and we did identify, nearly $10 million of savings in the general fund, which is what the core is funded out of first as far as the identification. So the departments all identified that they would have potentially reduced hours. We froze positions, and the council approved a budget based on those reductions. Those reductions in this case also included the identification of reduced hours. We said at the time that we were also in COVID, so we had this unique situation where the operations we were planning for as far as reductions were being compounded by what was happening with COVID at the same time. We also said we'd have to see what the implications were, and basically we called many of these things a kind of a pilot. So we wanted to watch and see how things actually turned out as far as operations are concerned. So that set up not only for the general fund, but it also set up for another, and that's the Art Center. The Art Center, as you know, wasn't opened until October, and it was opened in a season of COVID. So basically, it couldn't operate. But we made the decision we would bring on the staff and start trying to hold programs as soon as we could, and we started holding some programs. But there is no way that we've been able to host the kinds of programs and presentations that would have helped generate any revenue to the Art Center in particular. I mean, it just couldn't happen. And as we discussed tonight's the first time that we're actually going to be able to go out, and Jessica will be able to meet with Alex and say, okay, we can go to 100%. And so that's going to change some of the dynamic for the balance of this particular year. To your specific question about the reduction, so that was, the council said we know we've got to have these reductions, and we know there's going to be some eliminations, there's going to be some general hour changes, there's going to be some service changes, and how do we minimize that impact as much as possible? That was the charge that was given to us as staff, and that's what we came and presented to the council as far as the presentation. So we move forward with that. As you know, with the way that we do the transfers with the CRDC funds, there is a transfer. We do about 35%, I think, out of the CRDC funds over to the general fund, and that is to cover expenses like at Wagon Wheel, at the core, and so to do some other things. So the core revenues, I'm just going off the top of my head, the core revenues off of membership are roughly about 50% of the total operation cost. And so the other 50% comes from the CRDC. I will tell you from and you'll hear this as we go through the budget process, we have to have reductions. If the council says to us and wants to say, look, I don't like those particular reductions and we want you to do something different, okay, that's fine. It's just going to be a balancing act. You're going to have to find a reduction somewhere else. I know from an operational standpoint, that's what the challenge is that you presented to me. That's the information that I presented to the council. That's the budget that was adopted by the council, and that's what we implemented. So we knew that at some point in time there would be people who were not being served at certain times, and we knew that you would get phone calls, and we even talked about that during the budget process in terms of, you have the information to be able to explain to them what we're doing. So from an operational standpoint, I just know going forward to finish out this particular year, we're operating under reduced expenditures, under the idea of reduced revenues, even though we amended the budget to show the additional revenues. So that gives you a general overview. And those decisions that were made all along the way were made by the directors with input with the other directors and with their staff based on the information as far as, in this case, talking about the core, going back to 2019, looking at the actual numbers as far as what the attendance would be because you couldn't use COVID numbers just because they were so messed up in terms of what's happening. And so that's where we are today. And back in March, when Tracy was here, she reiterated here's were the operating hours. We presented that to the council. That was in the press release as far as the hours that were going to be open. So in my opinion, you've been fully aware about what we were doing. And this is just the natural consequence of making reductions. So that's the explanation of where we are today.
Thank you. So, Councilmember Hinojosa Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Land, thank you so much for taking the time to remind us of all of that happened, especially as we were going through COVID, and reminding us that we provided direction to staff to look for opportunities to make some cuts, and knowing that we're not going to be able to make everybody happy, right? And it's a pilot, right? We're trying to figure out kind of it's a balancing act. Councilmember Bijou, I guess it's a work session. Bijou, thank you. Councilmember Matthews, but thank you, for bringing this up. I honestly, I'm happy for us to have a conversation up here, but I really think this belongs in the budget sessions, and that is coming up fairly soon. Because I think it's not just about the hours of the facilities. This is more about, if those hours are extended, then what else has to give? And so there's a lot of moving pieces to this. The other thing is that, we've always made it very clear that, and which I appreciate that we had someone come and speak to this item today. We've also made it clear that we don't make decisions or comment on the items that are brought forward at citizens' appearance. And so I just think that, again, I don't want to look at this in a tunnel. I want to be able to consider all the different factors. And if we're going to make any changes with regards to the operating hours of the facilities, I want us to then go back to the conversation of why that was recommended, why we decided to go forward with that. And then what else are we going to have to do to make up for whatever, whether we look at the art center or we look at the senior center or we look at any other city facilities. I want to be able to have that conversation holistically, and I just don't think this is the right forum to do that.
Thank you, Mike, for the explanation. I agree with Brianna that this is not the right forum to discuss, but this is something brought up by a number of residents, so I just wanted to talk about that here, and so that in budget sessions we will go through that and we will have line items to make a decision on facilities and hours of operations, where needs to be the reduction. We are anticipating sales tax revenue will be shortened or will be reduced, and Art Center is one of the facility is solely income is coming from CRDC sales tax revenue, and so like you said, our core is also using some of that money. So we will have a discussion on that, going line item by line item. Thank you. That's all I wanted to accomplish today.
Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. So with that being said, I know that you, Mr. Land, you had mentioned that it was a pilot program, sort of, in terms of the hours that are being reduced with all the cost reductions, expenditure reductions and all that. So do you have an idea as to where we are today? I know that was a while back.
Sure. The challenge is that we're just now coming somewhat out of COVID and opening it up. Like, the hours didn't really start picking up until March, as opposed to having it all year to see how it's gone. In talking with staff, we've had a few comments related to after 8 o'clock, but there hasn't been this overwhelming, if that's what you're asking, there hasn't been, constant calls and those types of things. Councilman Matthew mentioned that we received an email, back in April, so a few weeks after the basketball courts were being closed at 8 o'clock. And I know June 1st, I'll call it open play, because the other thing was happening with social distancing. They were running programs in the gym, so it wasn't able to be utilized. Statistically, we capture the information that comes in. I know in talking with the core crew, the morning time, that was a high demand area, especially for people who are coming in, utilizing the facility, and then going to work. So that was the reason why the morning time was chosen. When we look to next year's operations from a budget standpoint, to your point, how we go through the budget. Well, you don't necessarily yet, but as we go through the budget, we will again describe, here are the things that, much like I did back in July, here are the things that we are reducing, and it gives y'all an opportunity to chat about that. I don't have a statistic because we are closed, so we do have statistics as far as the hours when people are coming in and the utilization. So to that particular point, if we look at doing something different, that'll be something we'll talk about during the summer budget process.
And is that something that we could do in terms of getting some feedback from the residents that are actually using it?
That's what I'm saying. We have been getting feedback, and it's been very little as far as after 8 o'clock.
Okay.
They do survey the core as far as not only hours but programs and those types of things. They're constantly in a survey mode as far as the core is concerned, because it's so driven by programs and by users. So that survey information is utilized to help make the decisions, along with the statistics as far as attendance. So we do get feedback on a regular, consistent basis.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Brianna?
And I think, just for clarification, Bijou, I really do appreciate you bringing this up, and John, kind of the follow-up question, if anything, for Mr. Land, is that this gives us an opportunity, to come armed with that additional information, or not armed with it, but come with that additional information, right, to so that we can understand what was put into place, how it worked out, how it didn't, and where the tweaks that we need to make going forward. Plus, also be able to, as you and your staff do a great job of doing, of educating our new council members as to the history of why we did what we did and what do we do going forward. So all that to say, I'm not trying to cut off the conversation. I think it's a good one, and I think we'll all be prepared to have that during budget.
Yeah, just real quickly, I just want to be real clear to your information. There is usage. There was usage in 2019 before COVID, between 8 and 10 o'clock. So don't let my comments think that, that's not. It was a priority had to be given, and where was the higher percentage of usage of the facility? That's how to your point, that's how the decision was made. It wasn't just saying, oh, well, there is definitely usage after 8 to 10. It's just in the scope of the hours, this is when the priority of hours was provided based on the usage.
Mark?
So Mike, you said that the surveys are performed kind of on a regular basis, and that's of current members, right?
Jessica's nodding her head. Yes, that is of the membership. Mm-hmm.
So if people left the Corps because the hours were cut back, we would never be able to get that feedback. How could we get the feedback from the community who would potentially be interested in having those hours extended that aren't current members? And
that would be something that I would ask with staff to say, because they would have for those who drop their membership, and this is a weird time too with COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
But for those who drop their membership, we would have their emails, and that would be one way. But you're putting me kind of in a position of thinking right here on the dais. Yeah. But it would be something we could work with staff on to see how we could collect that information. Again, we just have this strange time period where we are right now.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
I was just going to
I know when the hours of operation started opening up at 5, it took 2 months before people actually started really showing up at the earlier. It was hard to change schedules, so it may take a while to come up with that. What I'm hearing from the group is that we're prepared to go into a budget session with eyes open and questions on the tongues, and I think that's what we need to be ready to do. I'm fully expecting to have a much more interactive budget season, not session. It'd be session, season is more like it. And I'd encourage everyone here, to come up with the valid points. This is going to be a budget season that we've never had before. And I think it's going to be enlightening, maybe a little bit scary for all of us. And so, keep that in mind as we go forward. There's going to be discussions that we probably would rather not have, like this one, but those will be necessary. Right, Mr. Cliff.
Yes. What you said, I think there's nothing that I disagree with that's said here, but we're right on the cusp, and this has been said in other ways of the season for looking at these things and considering these things. We have a plan. We are working the plan. The staff is working the plan. Our directors are working the plan, and I would not vote I'd have no appetite at all to vote to step in now in the middle of the year and start trying to change things or suggesting things. I think that what we've come up with here is exactly what we need to do. You gather the information. Bijou's has a valid situation that we have with the Corps. There's no question about it. I mean, there's got to be other things that people, and I think the idea of possibly trying to get the citizens, very difficult for the citizens to really come to us with their complaints en masse. It's one here and it's one there. And so a survey of some kind, and I don't know how surveys work, but anyway, of our entire population, historically I don't think they've worked that well to gather information. But whatever's necessary to gather the information that we can use as we go through the season, because that's when we hammer these things out. And the mayor's just alluded to that. It's going to this one particularly, in that we've had all of these situations previously, well, we're going to have those plus some, I think, in this session, and it's not over yet because those fellows hadn't pounded the gavel down in Austin, so we still don't know exactly what the rules of the game are going to be. And I don't even know if we'll know after the regular session ends. So we're only, I don't think we need to start chipping on anything at this point because we're in the middle of the year, and we're going to start chipping in a big way to consider what we're going to do on October the 1st of 2021. And I'd say that all of these things, hopefully, we can get compliance with a majority of the council, and hopefully all the council, to go into that year sort of unified in, yes, we had to do this, but we had to get to the bottom line to protect our citizens without playing favorites to any particular group or any individual. I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you.
I was just going to add to, I guess I'm agreeing with you, Councilmember Long or Cliff, in a sense that, like, I don't know that now is the time for us, like you said, surveys haven't really provided us much information. And I will tell you that our citizens are not shy to reach out to us when they're unhappy. So we usually get like this flurry of emails when people are upset. And I think you're right. There's just a crazy time right now. I'll admit, I belong to 3 different gyms and I haven't been back. Even though I'm vaccinated, I'm just not comfortable going back right now. So anyway, all that to say, I think it's up for discussion. And I think we can just revisit that when we connect again.
All right. Anybody? All right, so I think we're prepared to address this fully during the upcoming season, budget season, so thank you for your input. Thanks for the conversation. This is always helpful and beneficial. And I would encourage us to have more conversations like this as we move forward into the future. With that being said, we will close the work session, move back into regular session of the Coppell City Council at 9:01 p.m. There being no further business before this council, we are adjourned at 9:01. Thank you.